Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
The Time for Truth show is sponsored by the Office of Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, a periodontal, dental implant and laser specialist in New York City, for over 40 years. Dr. Fialkoff was honored by the International College of Dentists and Pierre Fauchard, and received the Presidential Lifetime Humanitarian Honor from the White House. Call us at 718-229-3838.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard, you don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart, yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome to a Time for Truth show. I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff. It's a pleasure to have you back on this great time of the year. I love the holidays because there's like a feeling. You feel it in the air, in the atmosphere. It's like the world changes, and it's a beautiful time. We're with each other, with friends, family, and we look to the new year with hope. We make resolutions, and it's really a hopeful, pleasant, more calm, more humanitarian, I would say, time of the year, the holidays. I hope you're enjoying yours. And before we start, a lot of you have been asking, how do I become a member of the show? It's very simple. You go on YouTube, you click on a Time for Truth show, you find the subscribe button. There's no cost. You click it, you'll be a member, and you'll be availed of all the past episodes for the last 3 or 4 years. And tonight, we have a very special episode, because it deals with the crucible of our world, the beings who make the future possible, our women worldwide. And so let's give you some statistics about some shocking news that's very important to realize. And that's that the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's annual homeless assessment reported that on one single night, 580,000 Americans experience homelessness in the United States. And according to the 2013 AHAR report, 257,000 people who were homeless had a severe mental illness or a chronic substance abuse issue. On the screen, you see pictures of our guest tonight, Maria Prado, and they'll be going as I speak. But we'll continue with the introduction because it's very important you realize the gravity of what's happening in our country for women. Most research shows that around 1/3 of the people who are homeless have problems with alcohol and or drugs. And around 2/3 of these people have lifetime histories of drug or alcohol use disorder. A report from the United States Conference of Mayors indicated that substance abuse was one of the top 3 causes of homelessness in single people as well as families. And tonight, we're very lucky, and as you watch her pictures on the screen, to have Maria Prado, MPA, OES, founder of PRADO Transitioning Forward Inc. She's a paraprofessional, a DOT specialist, a motivational speaker, an author, and a volunteer of the National Action Network. Prado holds a BA from the College of New Rochelle, a master's in public administration from Metropolitan College, and is a certified chaplain. She's done so many things that it's really astounding. And most important is we have to find out a little bit about her and the energy and heart that she has. But first, Buddha, let's bring her up. Let's bring her up live. Maria Prado to A Time for Truth show. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on your show.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
And you know, your life is an amazing story. So I want to get right to it and use every moment. So the first thing I wanted to ask you is tell us about all the challenges you faced when you were very young.
Well, as a child coming up, I came up with a interracial family. My mother's Italian and my father's Hispanic. My father had an alcohol addiction, and my mother was just a Catholic who just believed in Jesus and that everything can be cured through prayer. So as I came up in such a young age, I've gravitated towards drinking and drugs and so on and so forth, which kind of spiraled my life into that direction of alcohol and substance abuse. I say roughly I started at around the age of 3 when my father started letting me sample beer and liquor and things of that nature.
Right.
As I grew up, I was an only child in the household, and my life was like any other normal kid's life. You know, it was a loving environment, a lot of nurturing, but there was always that little piece of me that just wanted a little bit more. So I began to gravitate towards the streets, which caused me to get involved in drugs. And I was born in New York, but I was then brought to Connecticut and raised in Connecticut for a portion of my life. And then I moved forward to saying I want to go back to my home, which is New York City. I came back out here in search of something, and I just got involved in drugs and crime and, you know, all kinds of illegal dealings. I got arrested, and once I got introduced to crack cocaine, it was just a downhill spiral from there. I lost my apartment. After losing my apartment, I became homeless. I basically was introduced to these people who were in what they call the Rotunda, and it was at Moorside Park. I'm not sure if you're familiar, 103rd and Riverside. Mm-hmm. So they brought me over there, and there was a small community there, and they all lived under the Rotunda, inside the wall of this huge park area. And that became my home for the betterment of 20 years. And come to find out, I realized that we were mole people. So for over 2 decades, I became a mole person and was learning how to live off of the streets of New York through either dumpster diving, canning, which is basically just finding cans and bottles and turning them in, panhandling. I've ate out of garbages. I've had bugs. I've been infested with bugs and all kinds of other vermin running across my body. So I've been that way for, like I said, the betterment of 20 years until I pretty much decided that it was just, you know, it wasn't fun anymore.
Wow. What is a mole person? Because you know you mentioned it, but I've never heard that before.
A mole person is someone who lives underground.
Okay.
They live in tunnels. They live under rotundas. For us, we lived in Riverside Park, and it was inside the there's a rotunda where there's a train station.
Okay.
So we lived inside of there. So we lived on the ground. So we would get blankets, whatever, and we would that would be our home.
So what happens is you would seek these tunnels because when it gets cold in the winter, I mean, it's
brutal. It is.
But so I've always wondered, I felt so horrible about this. What was it like being in, you said Riverside, right?
Yes.
In whatever it was that you went into, how did it feel? Was it still freezing cold? Or?
It was still freezing cold. We dressed in layers. There was approximately maybe 8 of us there.
Wow.
And we were a small community, and we basically helped each other. It was like a family. So sometimes we would go up on top, which would mean going up out of the rotunda to go up and go dumpster diving, where we would find food for our community. There would be someone who would find some pots and pans. We would take the grates from the sidewalks, like the manholes covers.
Yes.
We would take those and bring them down to the park, and we would get some bricks. We would put the manhole cover on top. We would build a fire. We would have our frying pan, and whatever we found in the dumpsters is what we would cook and warm up. And we came together and we made it happen. And it was truly an experience that you can't reverse. You cannot reverse it. The only responsibility you have is responsibility to each other. And it was me and another young lady, and the rest were guys, and they were pretty much our big brothers.
Wow. It's unbelievable. And so now, so you come out of that, and you actually had an apartment, right?
Once upon a time, when I first came back to New York, after leaving Connecticut and deciding to come to New York, I did have an apartment. What had happened in the point of me losing that apartment is that I began to get involved in drugs, as I mentioned.
Yes.
And the drug dealer wanted my apartment. By me being reluctant to give him the apartment, he set my place on fire. So one day when I went to Connecticut to go visit my family, after I visited my family in Waterbury, Connecticut, I came back to New York, and my apartment looked like a matchbook. So someone had actually went inside and they must have thrown gasoline in there, and the entire apartment looked like a matchbook. They burnt every inch of my apartment, every inch.
Wow. And this is when you were actually trying to move forward.
Right. When I first came to New York, I was in my early 20s at that time, very early 20s. I just, the drug dealers that I had met, they just wanted my apartment, and they figured that if they couldn't have it, I can't have it either. And that's just what happened.
That's unbelievable. And then now, when that happened, did the police, were they able to help you with that, or what happened with that?
Well, they sent me to the Red Cross, and the Red Cross placed me in this hotel. It was a mattress, a sheet was on it, and they gave me a key, and they said, this is where you'll stay, and that's it. I didn't have any clothes, I didn't have anything.
Unbelievable.
So it was like the loneliest feeling in the world. So I didn't stay there. So I just kind of wandered around, and I met some people. And as I said, a gentleman met me, and he says, you don't have anywhere to stay? And I said, no. He says, I know where you can go. And he brought me to Riverside Park, where I had stayed there, where I had stayed at the betterment of 20 years.
Wow. Now, you go through all of this, and it's horrific. And somehow then, something happens and you decide, and you start to do this CASAC training, right, as a chaplain?
I did a chaplainship through LACA. This is an organization for people to become chaplains.
But let me ask you a question before you jump right into that. Because here you are, you're in unbelievable circumstances.
Yes.
How, because I'm sure a lot of people out there watch this show want to know, how did you find the energy to decide, yes, I can do this?
Well, in 2008, well, I'll go to 2007. 2007, there was an array of people who I kind of looked up to, and they kind of took me under their wing. and we became best of friends over the years of me being a mold person. This gentleman, his name is Rocco. This gentleman passed away. When he passed away, all my inspiration and desire kind of left me to be in the streets. And in 2008, I made a conscious decision to turn my whole life around because it was just too much craziness going on. The streets were not the same. There was no respect. People were snitching on other people just to get their blocks. Like, there was a code once upon a time where this person had 106th Street in Amsterdam from, say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon until 10 o'clock at night. People started crossing into other people's territories, and it just became chaotic. And people were calling the police on each other. They were fighting each other. They were stabbing each other up. It was no longer that fun type of atmosphere on the block anymore. And, you know, I had gotten, I think, $9 to go purchase my last bag of crack. And a guy sold me something like soap or something. It wasn't crack. And I was so upset because it had taken me hours to get that money together that I seen blood. And at that point in time, I made a decision that it's time for me to leave. When you start thinking about hurting somebody over $5 or $10, it's time to go.
Wow.
So 2008, June 22nd, I walked up to St. Luke's and I decided to just turn my will over.
And you became a chaplain.
Well, not at that point. At that time, I needed to get myself clean and sober.
Okay.
After that, 2009, I went into learning about KSAC because I needed to know about drugs and how they affect the body.
That's right.
And then I got pregnant with my last child in 2010.
Okay.
And from there, I believe it was in 2013 that I became a chaplain.
Okay. Congratulations.
Yes.
That is some reversal.
And throughout that time frame, I had made a conscious decision that I wanted to do something for the women who have incarceration backgrounds, mental health, substance abuse, homelessness, domestic violence, histories and backgrounds. Because over the 20-year span that I have been in the streets, I have come to see some women go through some horrific stuff, unlike men. So I thought that I can create a program for women who have went through similar experiences as myself and help them to be a decent member of society and be able to function on their own without being dependent of another spouse or family member. And that's what I've been doing since 2014 when I opened up my nonprofit, which is based on my life experiences, the PRADO Transitioning Forward, which actually stands for the pride, respect, accountability, desire, and openness of transitioning forward. And this is basically for women. We also are LGBTQ friendly. We won't turn away men either. Even though it's a women's organization, we will not turn away men.
You just help anyone.
I will basically help anyone.
Okay, that's beautiful. Well, you know what? It's beautiful that your altruism. It's amazing your strength to do that because it's not easy. You know, one of the things for the viewers, because there's probably people out there who are hooked, who are doing some kind of drug. So, and they're rehabs, but you know, even so, and there's one called Narconon, which is unbelievable, that deals with no drugs to rehabilitate, called Narconon. If anybody watching is interested, I want to do something. You can go on narcanon.org, you check it out. But this show, Maria, I want to talk with you is like, because yes, there's rehabs, but still there was something that you had to decide or you went through, because you must have gone through symptoms, right? The withdrawal. And
well, with cocaine, there is really no withdrawal.
I see.
The withdrawals with heroin.
I see.
So I never had addiction to heroin, but I was heavily dependent on cocaine.
All right.
So it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was a withdrawal, but I went through feelings and experiences not being able to get high.
Absolutely. I see you're very strong because you kind of minimize it.
I am minimizing it. There is you do go through some stuff off of anything.
That's right.
Some are physical, some are mental.
That's right.
So with the cocaine, it's more of a mental thing, but you still go through it.
Okay, then what is it like? I mean, you mentioned a little bit, but just to make sure our viewers get this, what is it that you thought of, or when it hit you, when you had those emotions and the pulling and the stress and the pressure, what did you hang on to?
I held on to humanity. I know I didn't want to live like this anymore. I was just sick and tired. And that's what kept it 100 for me in wanting to thrive and live life and be able to reach back and help those women and children who cannot help themselves. It's one thing to be able to read it in a book and understand it. It's another thing to have lived it and be able to do something about it. And that's where I stand up. My goal in life is to open up 2 projects. One, a women's house. This is for women who have incarceration backgrounds, substance abuse, mental health, domestic violence, and homelessness. I'm not asking for the greatest building in the world. I'm asking for something as small as a brownstone. Same thing with the youth program. We're trying to open up something for our at-risk youth. Youth who have family members who have experienced either homelessness, domestic violence, substance abuse, mental health issues. These kids who you see out here acting a certain kind of way, acting different, it's not because they were raised any kind of way, it's what they see. Sometimes the parent doesn't realize the influence that they're putting on their child and what the child is witnessing. So we would like to open up a youth program for these kids to keep them out the street, giving them a mentor. We want to have a couple of mentor programs, like Bikes in the Hood, perhaps a music mentoring program, so they can utilize their hands a little bit more. And, because we got some real talented kids out there. We don't want to deprive them of nothing. All of our programs will be free, all of them. We also want to give these older kids who are ready to perhaps get jobs, a training. So we know that some kids work with hands. So we want to do culinary arts. We want to do a HAVAC. We want to do perhaps a trucking program where people can learn how to do a CDL. And it's not only for girls, it's not only for boys, it's for all. So this is the programs that we like to bring out, and we can't do it without your help. I have an RFP that has been approved since 2022. We're still waiting for a building. The city has not been able to allow us or vet us a building yet. And this is coming on year 3. So now, with that being said, we're asking you if you can help us to spearhead our project forward. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I think it's important. The second thing I see is you're very strong. You're going to be a great role model.
Thank you.
Oh, well, you don't have to thank me. I can see it. So, what I would say is to those leaders out there, those community leaders, those organizations, I met Maria through a really wonderful organization, the Million Women United March. One of the members, the board members, is Leticia Porter in Chicago. She introduced me to Maria Prado at one of their meetings. We were down there in August of this past year. We marched by the Lincoln Monument. And, it's a beautiful organization. Nice, beautiful people, normal people, regular people, down-to-earth people. and of all different races, religions, and colors. And for those of you watching out there, your leaders, your community leaders, let's help people like Maria Prado, like Letitia Porter of the Million Woman March. And, you know, when you look at it, it's like somebody said to me once, because I run a drug education program, they said, you know, Dr. Ben, it's not about percentages or numbers, because when I lost my child, I lost my life. Let's try to make it so we don't lose any more lives. Every life is precious, and we collaborate, we coordinate. We have so much in this world. Let's safeguard the biggest commodity, humanity. Like Maria was saying, it saved her life. So Maria, you know, what message, because we're at the end of the show, what message would you like to send those viewers out there at the end of our show?
The message that I like to send out there is hope. Hope, help. You know, at the end of the day, we need to spread a little bit more love and compassion. If you have something that can help someone, reach out and help them. That's in any venue. I have done so much for my community, and I will continue to do so for my community. I live in Mott Haven. I see a lot, and I wish I can do so much more, but I can't do it without the help of everyone. So if we can just come together and share a little bit more commodities, a little bit more support.
Absolutely. And you know, before we forget this, how can people reach you? What is your email?
My email is basically my name, Maria A. Prado _813@hotmail.com. Or you can also reach me through m.prado@theprado.org. My phone number is 347-224-9270. Again, we're looking for support. We have 2 buildings in mind. We need any kind of financial support. If you know someone who knows how to run a building, how to get grants, funders, politicians, reach out to me, please. We need your support. We can't do it without you. Organizations, we love you. We need you. Help us, please. We want to help the community just like you. Thank you.
Well, you know what? You're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you. For those of you watching, I know you realize this. We support people like Maria Prado, and our world changes for the better. New Year's resolutions are coming around. We're looking for things to do. I don't know a better project to do than supporting her, supporting Phil Rucker, who was on here before, Drug Free World that you know from me, and all these organizations that are helping humanity. We hope you have a great holiday season and you do really well. Have a great 2025. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode of A Time for Truth show. Good night.
Good night.
This show was sponsored by A Time for Truth Foundation Incorporated as a community service.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet